I just want to make sure everybody's in and they're comfortable before we go live. Amazing. All right, let's see. Hopefully everybody is in. Good to see you all. Yes, perfect. Hi, everyone. Happy, I had to think about that.
Wednesday, yeah.
Happy Wednesday. It's great to be here with you all. Thank you so much for joining. Today we have a very exciting discussion about exercise. That's the subject of the challenge today. Thank you, thank you. Hi, I see Jane, I see Rio. Can you hear us and see us okay? Perfect, wonderful. Oh my goodness. Malika is from Ghana, Accra.
Beautiful.
It's amazing. Hello there. Elena is from Calgary in Canada. We have an Angelino
far
from
away,
Los Angeles,
Angeles.
Andrea. Amazing,
Next door.
amazing. Thank you. And you guys are already posting some comments and questions about the topic of the day. That's fantastic.
Ann Arbor. I went there all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes.
Andrews University.
That's right. That's where you got your PhD from.
Correct.
Hi, Beatrice. Hi, Lisa. Oh, that's amazing. Look at all of you guys from all over the world. It's wonderful to be here with you all. Hope you had a wonderful day yesterday. I hope you could have you joined us for the live cooking session. That was a lot of fun. So today, let's go ahead and talk about today's challenge, which is exercise.
So I want to make sure that we focus on this concept of exercise and take it really seriously, because we've all heard about exercise. As much controversy as there is in the realm of food, there isn't as much controversy as in exercise. Everybody kind of agrees exercise is important.
Right.
But I want you to know how important it is. It is critically important. It is one of the few factors that actually help grow your brains. We say that nutrition, stress management, and sleep create the environment for vitality, for growth, for expansion. But exercise and cognitive activity, especially exercise, actually grows your brain at any age. And we have to take it seriously. We rarely create systems. Very few people have created systems where exercise is part of their life. And so today I'm going to talk about the why, the how, and the what.
Okay,
so
fantastic.
So the why, we're not going to go into the specific studies, although I'll allude to some of them. But as I stated earlier, there are multiple studies that show that people who exercise actually grow their brain. The natural transition of brain volumetrics is shrinkage and atrophy as we get older, but starting at age 20 for that matter. But that doesn't have to be the case. We know that people who do X, Y, and Z, certain things, the things that we talk about, the neuroconcept, actually maintain cognitive connectivity, cognitive health, as well as volume, and actually can increase brain volume. Nothing is truer than when it comes to exercise. But what's important is to know that even people who have pre-dementia stage, mild cognitive impairment, there are multiple studies that have shown. In fact, we're in the middle of another review. We do multiple reviews each year. Another review, comprehensive review with a medical student from Colorado University, looking at specifically exercise and cognitive health. And what we're seeing is even at pre-dementia stage, when people start doing a comprehensive exercise, and we'll talk about what kind of exercise, they stop the process of mild cognitive impairment significantly, anywhere between 40 to 60%. That's remarkable.
It really is.
In comparison to controls. Usually the controls they look at is people who are not doing any movement, or they're doing stretching exercises. Stretching exercises have their own benefit, but aerobic and anaerobic exercises are important.
Or strength training.
Or strength training, yeah. And so whether it's mild cognitive impairment, whether it's focus, whether it's brain volume, whether it's brain health in general and vascularity, every aspect of brain health that you look at, nothing affects it as much acutely as exercise. In fact, because the reward pathway to exercise is so acutely bound to dopamine is the reward hormone, and that's a little bit of a misstatement, but in general, it has two functions. One is reward, the other is movement. There's a reason why movement and reward systems are connected. So one of the first places we start people on, if there's no singular focus on nutrition or they have a natural proclivity, is exercise. Because with exercise, you get the reward immediately, that's well defined. you can start seeing the benefits quickly, and that becomes the foundation, the keystone behavior that you can build everything else on.
Keystone behavior.
Keystone behavior.
It's a great one.
Exactly. So it's critical to know all the studies, and you'll get the reviews that we've done as far as exercise and brain health. Now, what kind of exercise? The exercises that we hear in the clinic is, Dr. Sherzai, I'm fine. I walk the neighborhood all day, and I walk the dog, and I do gardening. Those are fantastic. I call those great active meditation. So, but they're meditation. You really have to get tired. Study after study shows that it has to be brisk. It has to be to the point that it raises your heart rate. We don't have to do some kind of calculations, which some of you might have learned, where you take your heart rate, subtract your age, and it's got to be 8. No, if your heart rate's got to be fast, and you got to get short of breath, you have difficulty finishing the sentence at the end of a sentence. Of course, all of this under supervision of your doctor. We don't know each of your cases, so we can't make a general statement to all of you. But for those of you that your doctor has given the leeway to and the right to go ahead and exercise, it's critical to get to that point. And that's been shown repeatedly that in a Harvard study, people who actually did brisk walking, and it doesn't have to be walking, although I love brisk walking. Right. It's least traumatic on the brain and least traumatic on the joints. The brisk part gets your heart rate faster. 25 minutes a day for a protracted period of time reduce their risk of Alzheimer's by 45%. Of all these drugs and concoctions and pills that they sell in late night TV, none of them have even shown 1% benefit. They have not. Do the research. They have not. Exercise by itself, 45%. So aerobic exercise, or the kind of exercise that gets you short of breath and tired, is critical. It's important. At least work your way up to 20. And I'll talk about the how after all this. This is the what part. The other part is strength training. Right. Strength training is important. Upper extremity strength training is important because of joint injuries, shoulder injuries, and other factors that we see all the time, but especially lower extremity strength training, leg strength training. Leg strength seems to be correlated with brain health. Multiple studies, twin studies, and others have shown people who actually strengthened their legs had bigger brains, right, even late in life. And when strength training exercises were implemented in patients with MCI, those are usually people in their 60s or so, mild cognitive impairment, they were able to actually stop the progression in significant proportion. And we'll have all those papers.
And they were even able to reverse some of their cognitive decline. So say, for example, if they scored low in their neuropsychological testing, their scores went up after a regimented exercise program.
Absolutely. So strength training, especially leg strength, is critical. So those are the two factors that you must incorporate into. And then the other things is balance. We don't do any balance exercises. We don't do any stretching. I myself learned fairly quickly that without stretching, even though I was a pretty good athlete, I recently had a shoulder surgery. The main reason was because I never did stretching. And that can, especially as you get older, it can lead to injuries significantly. Achilles heel, the ligaments and tendons that become tenuous because they don't have the support structures. You can do some stretching here and there while sitting watching TV or whatever. So that's important to incorporate because of its profound effect on brain health and brain volume and brain vitality and all of those things. And why is leg strength important? Well, there are many theories, but one major one is because it increases BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. All exercise does, but especially leg strength does as well, which actually is a growth factor that increases the connections between neurons significantly, profoundly. The other reason is the biggest pump in your body is not your heart, it's your legs. They pump up the blood through the inferior vena cava back to the heart. And that's what gets even flow of blood to the most vascular organ in your body, your brain. So that's why another reason that's important. Plus nitric oxide, plus the fact that it helps with clearing of waste products and all of that stuff as well. So that's the exercise what and how. It depends on you, your situations, your circumstances, your resources, your time, and all of those things. It's preferred that it's earlier in the day, although if there's no other option, evening is fine. Realize that if it's affecting your sleep, either directly because of pains and aches, or indirectly because when you're sleeping, you're not getting into deep sleep because of these twitches and aches and things of that nature, be aware of it and work around that later in the evening.
Right.
But daytime exercise is great because, especially if it's in daylight, the light resets your circadian clock, the melatonin goes down, the cortisol goes up at the right time, and it resets that whole circadian clock. That's why you get sleepy when you're on the beach.
We actually saw so many pictures of the challengers posting their pictures during a walk next to the lake, in their garden, in their neighborhood. They were so beautiful. I highly recommend you all taking some time and going in and taking a look at the pictures and reading the stories of how people exercise every day. It was beautiful.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for doing that.
And work around your limitations and your resources. We are not working towards a thing. We're not working towards a diet first. That comes once you start developing habits. We're working towards habits. Habits happen when you take away impediments. Habits happen when you create reward system, intrinsic reward systems. Habits happen when you work around your strengths, your character, your personality, and all of those things. Build on the things that you already have. Stack on the behaviors you already have. If you're getting up in the morning, exercise. If you have nothing else, you can't go anywhere, you live in a horrible place, you can't get out of your house, make it so that during a show, and I've done this many times,
right,
during a particular show, news, do steps, do X number of steps, high knees, whatever it takes. If you have lower extremity injury, knee problems, get one of those foot pedal exercises, put it on the table and move your arms. Whatever happens in the upper extremities, same as what happens in the lower extremities.
And that's a very important point, because we are seeing a lot of comments and questions about people who have disabilities, whether
Yes.
it's arthritis or joint pain or some limitations that doesn't allow them to exercise. So we're saying that whatever part of the body you exercise, the entire body gets its benefit.
Correct. And start slowly and measurably. Even if you could do 20 minutes, start with 10 minutes where you actually are able to do it well, without any injury, with balance in mind, making sure that you get, at least at the end of the exercise, to the point of aerobic exercise where you're getting tired. Once you master that 10 minutes, then move it to 12 minutes. Again, this phrase I'm going to repeat many times. We didn't get here with this health overnight. Don't try to get out of it with a New Year resolution, with false motivations. I'm doing a talk on motivation later today, but forget about motivation. Systematic, measurable achievements that become behaviors, waves of behaviors and patterns and habits. And once you master a certain level, then move it to the next level and the next level, with safety in mind, with repeatability in mind, with your timelines in mind, even with your character and personality and proclivities in mind. If you're not liking what you're doing because it's taking you to an unsafe place, or it's taking you to a place where you're challenged with muscles that are getting injured, adapt it so it's doable, repeatable, and pleasurable over time. So that's what you have to do. I really think that one of the simplest things we've instituted in our clinic is the foot pedal exerciser.
Yeah.
We tell people, make it so that one show, one newscast, whatever it is, or two for an hour, you keep that pedaler moving slowly. But every few commercials, measurably, you rev it up, and then skip another commercial and then rev it up. So that becomes something where you don't have to wear, fancy clothes to the gym, which you have to a lot of times, or get out of your house where you don't want to, or, you have to. So all these impediments are taken out. You're doing something that you're doing anyway, which is watching a show or news, and then using it for exercise. And then next to you, that little piece of paper, you mark it off as having it completed. That's critical. Start measurably and around things that you can do. Later, you can actually adapt that once you develop the habit of exercise, the habit of separating that time for exercise. And exercise helps, as we said, grow the brain and everything. It also helps with sleep.
Absolutely.
It helps with digestion. It helps. We're talking, the popular topic of the day is microbiome. It helps with your microbiome better than anything else, for that matter.
Yeah.
The most effective anxiolytic and antidepressant, anxiety medicine or depression medicine, is exercise. Study after study shows that they are 3 times more effective. Why isn't anybody talking about it? Because there's no money to be made.
Yeah.
So critical thing is find the place, the amount, and the type of exercise. Make sure you're safe. Build a routine. Build a doable, repeatable routine, and you will see the benefit. Once that activity is mastered and you have the check mark, your life will change. You can build on that across all different domains of behavior. That's the why is it grows your brain. It affects your emotions better than anything else. It affects all your systems more than anything else. The how, the what is the aerobic exercise and anaerobic. And as far as anaerobic strength training, we do squats, not even full squats, mini squats, because I have knee problems, or if I have shoulder hip problems, mini squats. Or if you can't even do that, you can sit in a chair, put a little weights around your ankles and straighten it. That's quads. And then if you're sitting on a bench on your stomach and you bend your knee, that's hamstrings. So those simple things around your space can truly increase your strength and fall risk. By the way, the number one reason for elderly getting to the emergency room, falls. The number one thing you can do to reduce falls, strengthening the lower extremities.
Absolutely.
So that's the what and the how we talked about. So that's our push for exercise. Please share your pictures, your ideas, the little tricks that you have found to increase the amount of strength and the type. Make sure that you consult your physician, because there are times where you're limited and you shouldn't be doing it. So or should be doing alternatives. But in general, that's the incredible, profound power of exercise.
And for taking the most benefit out of this 7-day challenge, I think it would be great if you could include one specific type of exercise that you will continuously do till the end of this challenge, just as an opportunity to introduce something new, something that you can do that is around you, that is possible. That would be wonderful. So if you could make a mental note of it, or go into the homepage and just write it down for everybody to see it, so that we can hold you accountable. And then at the last day, we'll ask you whether you were able to continue doing that or not.
And a system of how you're going to make sure it's repeatable.
Yeah.
That you've taken out all the impediments and you've worked around your strengths, that it's doable. That's an important part.
It really is.
People will, this is the whole point of community, is people learn from each other and making sure that kind of indirectly keeping each other accountable. That would be wonderful.
Wonderful. All right, let's go ahead and take some questions.
Absolutely.
And let's see this one is from our friend NL. Hi, do you consider Pilates as strenuous exercise? Thank you for everything you do. Nancy from Reno, Nevada. Thank you, Nancy. So are Pilates a strenuous exercise? It could be. I think not all Pilates are strenuous, because mostly they are in a position of stretching, but the ones that activate your muscles, your active and antagonistic muscles, those can be considered as strenuous exercise as well. So I would say not all of Pilates is strenuous, but there are some variations of it that could potentially be strenuous.
Along that line, same is true for yoga.
Agreed.
There are so many different variations that can be strenuous or non-strenuous, but they all have their own benefits, but be it because of stretching, flexibility, balance, and strength.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Absolutely. All right. Let's see. So many loving messages, guys. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it, and we read all of them, we promise you. All right. There was another one that was important about HIIT. So high intensity interval training. Maybe we can actually talk about that. I can't find it right. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is a question from Lynn. Does HIIT HIIT work to increase your brain? So HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. And essentially it's a type of exercise where there's a short bout of very intense exercise. It usually lasts for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and then it's followed by a period of rest. And you do several cycles of these. Yeah,
different versions of it. Recently, we had a friend be our basically a trainer. And he's putting us through this kind of a routine.
Really
I tell you,
it's amazing.
I've heard the kind of expletives that I've never heard from Aisha. So, well, I'm joking. She doesn't.
Well,
but it can be tough, and it's a benefit for the body and everything. Yes, there are definitely. Again, even more important to be aware of injury with HIIT, because the rapid stop and start. Even more important to be aware of your joints. And injury, again, critical. But,
and also your baseline health of how fit you are to be able to do high intensity interval training, because sometimes when your joints are not very strong or some muscles are not very well balanced, then you're bound to hurt yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, but as far as its benefit for brain is concerned,
Yeah.
by all means, it definitely is. Is it the interval between the fast and the slow exercises, between the active and the rest state that's more important, or the exercise itself? I don't think we've been able to actually find that specifically. All we know from research studies is that strenuous exercise is good for the brain and it generates more growth hormones and it literally grows the brain. So that's the thing we know,
Beautiful.
whether it's HIIT or just regular strenuous exercise. Let's see. So we have a lot of comments about walking in the neighborhood, living in a hilly area, steep hills, walking. Those are all considered as strenuous exercise. Definitely, if something is more on an inclined surface, a walk being on an inclined surface is considered a strenuous exercise. Consistency is also very important.
Consistency is extremely important. Absolutely.
All right. And here's another.
Oh, one other thing that's important is
Yes.
rest. Especially if you're not a world-class athlete. Well, everybody needs to rest, but definitely rest is, you need to create a period of rest, either 1 day or 2 days. What we do is, because we found out that it really exhausts us, especially when the trainer puts us through these intervals. We take 2 days and then 1 day off.
Right.
2 days and 1 day off.
2 days exercise and 1 day
exactly.
off.
And then that 1 day off, we do a walk on the beach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In Redondo. So you need the rest. You need the muscle to recover for the lactic acid, although that happens much faster, but still some recovery of the injuries and tissue repair and all of that stuff.
Like, for example, yesterday we did a lot of lunges and squats. And today I had a hard time sitting on a chair. My legs were absolutely sore. So today we're going to go for a walk, make sure that we relax the muscles, maybe do some upper extremity exercises, and just give our lower extremity a rest. All right, perfect. The next question by Andrea is, what if we can't do leg presses because of back problems?
And that's the case for me. I've had lower back surgery. I played lots of sports when I was younger and injured my lower back. I had 2-level discectomies and all kinds of stuff. And even though I don't experience the pain or the paraspinal pain, I worry quite a bit. Right. Whenever that for those of you who have back pains, back problems, the little tinge, you that's like a nightmare. Oh, is this going to come again? And I haven't had it for more than a decade. And nonetheless, I don't do any weight-bearing exercises, not vertical weight-bearing exercises. I don't see the cost benefit there. I don't put any weight. So I do lunges, I do some mini squats, but most of the leg exercise I do on a bench where I'm sitting and extending the leg, or I'm lying on my stomach and pulling the leg towards my back, flexion of the back, leg muscles. So I try to avoid any vertical weight-bearing exercises. And that's worked for me. It works the same muscles. It activates the same muscles. If I want to work the lower back muscles, although I've had the paraspinal scut, some planks, some lower back, low weight, high rep is helpful. I try to, where I worry, I do low weight but high rep, meaning much larger number of sets, but lower weight. But I don't see any benefit in weight bearing. I actually tell a lot of people, unless you're doing professional bodybuilding, which I don't think many people that I know are, I don't see any benefit. Even then, I don't see any benefit in putting 200-pound weight on your shoulders than doing squats or any weight on your shoulders. You'll get the same benefit with simple measures that take safety into consideration.
Right. No, absolutely. I think simply doing some lunges and squats on a daily basis is so helpful. And especially for people who, you don't have to go to a gym. You can actually do it in your own home, in your kitchen, just by holding onto a table and doing some squats and lunges until you get strong enough where you don't have to hold on to anything. Those are excellent. Those are amazing.
Every single muscle can be worked out.
Totally. Absolutely. At home. You can do your chest, your back, everything. In any case, great question. Thank you so much for that. All right. Next one is from Andrea again. Can resistance bands be used instead if we can't lift heavy weights using a machine or free weights? Yes.
In our house, we have lots of resistance bands, and those who are going to get the gift, I don't know who got the gift, they get some resistance bands.
Yeah.
We're
big believers of resistance.
Yes. Yeah, so we have these bands that are connected to the door, but they have a sheet so that even if the rubber is cut, the sheet holds it there so it doesn't hit you or anything. So make sure that you get from experience. So you have one of those, and you can put different weights from very lightweight all the way to heavy weights that you can put a hook and increase the weight, and they're wonderful. They're amazing.
Absolutely.
You can work out your triceps, you can work out your biceps, you can even do chest by turning around and doing chest, all kinds of workout. And then with bands in the lower extremity, we got these bands that you put around your knees. You can do quads, you can do hamstrings, you can do the side laterals, the gluteus medius and maximus. So bands are wonderful. Again, safety in mind, making sure that you take all the safety measures. But then with some simple bands, you basically have taken care of all your exercises at home. We literally have a dumbbell under my chair, a dumbbell under Aisha's chair, and the kids have their own. And then we have these bands, which different people can actually hook different weights. Same door. We have some bands around the knees and a mat.
Yeah.
And with that, we can do all kinds of exercises.
Absolutely. Wonderful. All right. A comment from Susan, who says compound exercises are good. Absolutely. So compound exercises are the type of exercises where you're doing multiple different movements or activities in the same activity. I said activity twice.
Yes.
But basically it's, for example, you're squatting and you're doing your biceps as well. Or for example, you're doing a lunge while you're reaching out to the next side. So those are amazing. So you have exercises that are only confined to a machine or a particular muscle, and then you have compound exercises that work out your entire body. Both are very important because compound exercises represent real life.
Correct.
But the machine ones strengthen specific types of muscles. So both are very important and necessary.
You might have seen Aisha's picture recently in a story in social media where she was holding this bar and going to one side. So it's balance, strength, and lower extremity.
Yes.
And to be honest, I was kind of incredulous about those kind of exercises until we did them, because they're real life movements where you're actually creating these strengths, counter muscles in different parts of the body, which is how we usually fall,
right,
because those counter muscles are not strengthened. So I love compound exercises now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even though initially we hated it. So.
Here's a comment or a question from James. I have congestive heart failure and asthma. I think it's Judy. I get very short of breath with exertion, not supposed to do weights because of syringomyelia, which is a condition in the spinal cord. Suggestions?
So again, this is complicated. There are many variables involved here, so we have to know. We can't give specific suggestions, but what can happen is sometimes stretching exercises and making sure that you take the syringomyelia into consideration, which usually affects the sensation of the shoulders and fingers as well, and taking the asthma into consideration. With the doctor, in this case, definitely the doctor should be the one, because they know the degree of asthma, the degree of heart failure. With that in mind, they can push the edge of exercise.
Depending on where you see your doctor, almost every cardiology department has a cardiac rehabilitation center, Judy. See if your hospital or your clinic has a cardiac rehabilitation center where they have physical therapists working with patients who have congestive heart failure. And based on their numbers, like Dean was saying, they suggest particular types of activities. So you really need to listen to your healthcare providers.
Correct.
Much love and good luck to you.
And not to give any advice, but you might talk about this with your physician, because of syringomyelia, asthma, and cardiac, the lower extremity foot pedal exerciser, which doesn't affect the upper extremity, which depends on your own level of pushing. That shouldn't affect the asthma too much. And because with CHF, you have edema in the lower extremities, it helps with that as well. But again, with your doctor in mind, please don't take my statements as the final statement. Your doctor should be the one that leads that process.
Absolutely. All right. Kate says, what about swimming laps?
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, so we really worry about trauma. What I mean by trauma is even micro trauma. I think that when people bounce too much on the ground, we know that soccer players, I played soccer, I was the captain of my soccer team, heading the ball would not have damage. But studies show that those that are soccer players and head the ball a lot, they have some white matter disease. So even small amounts of micro trauma like that affect. Swimming is the best because it's minimal damage, injury to the joints, minimal damage to the head, and you get the same aerobic exercise. It's just absolutely wonderful. So if that's what you do, more power to you.
I was smiling because Barbara says, haha, with today's type of news, I'd be going fast during the news and slow down during muted commercials.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
true, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
All right, this is a great comment. Once you've had an endorphin rush from a great cardio session, it's the greatest feeling of all. And I think that's a great comment to link one of the questions or one of the comments that I've been seeing on the homepage from our lovely friend saying, I don't like to sweat.
Yeah.
I really don't like exercise. And that's a legitimate comment. I don't like to exercise. Like, why would I just start running, or why should I just start walking for no rhyme or reason?
Yeah.
How would you address that, Dean? People who don't like exercise.
So dance.
Okay.
Make it gamified. I mean, one of the big statements we have with our kids and is gamify life. Exercise is important. You need to get, whatever stage you're in, and we've seen that different people are in different stages. You have to get, some exercise in, and whatever works for you, do that. If it's swimming, you like, absolutely. If it's walking the dog, but hopefully it's not like our dog. We have a Dalmatian and Basset Hound mix. He's mostly Basset Hound and very little, 5 minutes of Dalmatian and the rest is Basset Hound. So he doesn't go fast, and he's got other problems now. But nonetheless, dancing.
Yeah.
If you like dancing, or even if you're not good at dancing, in your living room, nobody's watching.
So you're saying don't show it to anyone?
Well, if you're good, show it to people. Yes, absolutely. But if you're not,
you said just do it in your room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Close the door.
Yeah, no, but
that's probably me.
Even if you're good, if you dance on your own, you become more creative. You do all kinds of things that you don't feel silly about unless there's a mirror.
You save yourself.
Yeah. So dance, whatever it takes to make sure that you enjoy it. We live in a nice area, so the walk is not a walk. Although we increase the pace with a little beat.
Yeah.
But we're not even aware that the pace is going fast.
Christy says, I've been doing a dance workout on YouTube 3 times a week. I'm learning salsa and exercising.
So we in our forums have an incredible young lady who teaches salsa.
Yeah.
And this poor lady has been trying for how many years now?
3
years trying to teach me salsa. And she's the calmest human being, but she's about to pull her hair up. So some people are not dancers. But yeah, I would love to be able to dance.
Yeah, no, you're a good dancer.
But nonetheless, dancing is amazing.
It's a great
salsa is a fast. I mean, you get tired.
Oh, absolutely.
You absolutely get tired.
It's all sweat. Anyway, anonymous learner says, how much time per day minimum, once we work up to the ideal, do we need for each type of exercise? Aerobic, strength, and stretching. Minimum time.
The data comes from constrained studies, meaning that these studies are created so that they have a specific time, specific timeline, a specific so that they can measure outcomes, right? So the studies have come back to us and said 150 minutes per week. Okay, that's great, but that's just a constraint that was set before the study and everybody else followed it. There is an upper limit. As much as people keep talking about ultra exercises and ultra running and ultra swimming, we think that should be left for those rare people. But for most of us, an hour, 30 minutes to an hour of exercise a day is great. Oh, here's the part that we missed. So it's critical that you exercise, but it's also important to not become sedentary. So you could be exercising for half an hour and then you're sitting 8 hours in a row. You've lost the benefit. That data is actually present. We actually know that that's true. So create a life where you're standing, you're walking, you're watching TV while standing, you're reading something while standing. We instead of dining table, we have a ping pong table. That was so make sure that you stand up, stretch, kick a leg, do a dance, tell Alexa, put a song on and do a couple of moves. Whatever it takes, stand up more and don't just be, create a false exercise session and the rest is just sedentary behavior.
Mhm.
So move out throughout the day as well. Not necessarily this trend that came, which stand-up desks. Those are great if you're doing that, but movement throughout the day
Absolutely.
is important.
One thing that has helped us a lot in our home is we rearrange the couches and the chairs and the flow of the rooms in a way where we're made to move. So, for example, having things right next to your chair, we make sure that we actually push it away so that the kids and us, we just get up and do things. Or, have a very high table in the kitchen where instead of, sitting around, we could just stand around it and chat. Or, make sure that the chairs are positioned in a way so that there is a really nice path to go from one point to another. Small little changes in your homes actually make a huge difference.
Or a dartboard.
Or dartboard.
Where I purposefully lost several games to Aisha and the kids so that they were motivated. No, actually, Aisha is really good in darts. So
I'm gonna fight for that because that's one of the few things I'm good at.
You can't argue against bullseye. So yeah, no. So creating an environment of movement is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so here's another question from Lisa. Any new research findings or info about the intersectionality of fascia, exercise, and the brain? How does this dynamic substance affect, communicate with, influence brain health?
There isn't a lot of data. I mean, I know that where you're coming from. I know that there's some talk about this stuff, but one thing that we worry about is over extrapolation beyond, or that's superfluous. Extrapolation beyond the data. And that's the nature of social media. We know that, that's okay. But extrapolation beyond the data is important. Even the microbiome, the probiotic, and then the all this stuff.
A little too much.
Yeah, and we know that microbiome is extremely important. But fiber, there it is. The beginning, middle, and end. Fiber, more fiber. We know that fasting has some effect, but overnights, when you don't eat from 8 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the morning, that's fasting. All these concoctions of fasting or fasting foods and all that, that's over extrapolation or extrapolation beyond the data. So, and this is one of them that we don't have data about not even close to really meaningful data yet. But we keep our eyes open, look for data, and go from there.
Absolutely.
I hope that was helpful.
All right. Mary Ellen says, what about rebounding? So, like the high impact rebounders.
I know, I think she's heard me talk about this before. This is me extrapolating beyond the data. So I always say that. I want to make sure that when we're data driven, we're data driven, and where it's opinion, and you can take it, to be honest, don't go by my degrees and all of this stuff. Throw them away. Find data the opposite. I just don't like the idea of the bouncing. Now, our brain, which is, if anybody's held the brain in their hand, it's not this hard, I can assure you, it's gelatinous. In fact, you can squeeze it. It's actually contained in a fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, which is the viscosity of water. And then let's just show the inside of the skull. Let's show those sharp edges.
There's something in here. I have to get rid of.
Oh, that's the amyloid plaque.
Dust.
Yeah. So, well, it's not transparent, first of all, but there's a lot of sharp edges, especially in the temporal area, the memory center. When you move, the fluid does not really cushion that much. And if you're doing activities that bounce a lot, thousands of times, my thinking is that's going to have an effect over time. The data is not there again, so take it for what it is. Again, that's why I want to be very transparent. I want to make sure that people, and please do not give more weight to that statement than what it's worth. We are the kind of scientists that don't go by our accolades, but by what comes out of our mouth and the weight of the truth, not the truth, the weight of the truth. We say if you overstate the truth, it's a fallacy. If you understate the truth, it's a fallacy. So I worry about that. I worry about the soccer headers when our kids were in soccer team. Their coach was this aggressive CEO of a company that was doing coaching as a part-time, and they told him no heading, and he would yell at the kids, say, head the ball. And we really stood up and was very aggressive about, no, that's not something that you want to do for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds where they're developing their brain. So that's my long answer to a possible short answer question. So, but if you want to do it, I think there's not data yet. against it.
No.
I don't know if that was helpful, but
Yeah,
just
no,
personal.
it was. And Mary, if something comes up, obviously we'll let you know. We're always on the look for the latest information and the latest research on these activities in brain health. So we'll let you know. Paula says she does counter presses while waiting for her coffee.
Yes.
I do too, Paula. High five. Awesome.
Yes. But be careful. For the rest of you heard this, you might start doing that. Make sure it's not slippery. There's nothing worse than your hand slipping and your chest hitting the table or your
too
chin.
sharp of an edge on the counter.
Put a towel. Some people have this rubber stuff that they can put. So it's good for several reasons.
Ours is rounded, so something like that, so it's not too sharp. But no, awesome, amazing,
beautiful.
All right. Let's see. Sharon from London saying, "Hi, Sharon. Is the cross trainer helpful?"
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it is. Another question is, what about a walk after dinner to help with blood sugar, good or bad?
It's great. I mean, a brisk walk is great. A slow walk is great also because it's meditative, it's calming, and it's a bit of an exercise. Even a small amount of exercise is better than no exercise. Movement is better than being sedentary. All of that stuff. Again, later in the evening walks, be aware if it's affecting your sleep in any way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sleeping 7 hours, yet the next day you're still tired, that means that you're not getting into the deeper phases of sleep. We'll talk about the phases of sleep tomorrow. So just be aware of that. The day after tomorrow. Yes. Tomorrow's stress. Yes.
Okay. Andrea has a question. Sorry, I keep asking this, but my question keeps rushing by. What about using resistance bands in place of weight machines for leg exercises in particular, or body weight exercises? Both are great, so if you're doing body weight exercises, squats and lunges are amazing. Resistance bands around your knees, around your ankles to exercise the side muscles or the inner thigh muscles are also wonderful.
Or even actually quads and hamstrings as well.
If you're actually laying down.
Yeah, and absolutely, they're great.
They're amazing. So those are perfect, and they don't take a lot of space either, which is something that I absolutely love. But all right, hot yoga. What about hot yoga that gets your heart rate up? I don't think there's any evidence of hot yoga and brain health or health in general, but it gets your heart rate up, so I think it should be fine.
Great. Yoga is great, any form. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we have a couple of questions about rebounding. Sorry, I'm actually rushing this a little bit. We're at 42 minutes now. Let's see. Maybe I could just kind of skip a couple of them if you don't mind. All right. Wonderful. Nathan says wonderful things. Thank you so much, Nathan. I'm frustrated that you wonderful doctors are not mentioning that engaging. Karen again, I'm frustrated that you wonderful doctors are not mentioning that engaging and strengthening the core, the foundation of Pilates, supports, prevents injuries in every exercise you mention.
It does. Absolutely. And not in isolation of other things. We don't overemphasize one exercise over the others as if there's something, so it's important to kind of say that's important. That's incredibly beneficial for core muscles, and core muscles are important for multiple things, including reducing injuries, significantly reducing injuries, but it's not in isolation to other exercises.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let's see. If you do a brisk walk at lunch to get vitamin D from sunlight, is it best to walk before or after lunch?
Depends on your lunch, doesn't it? No, but so actually, that in a way it does matter. I mean, if it's a heavy, I don't want to belabor this point too much. Exercise is good either way, before or after. Before it's good because it affects the metabolism. It gets your satiety going. It gets the enzymes ready and all of that stuff. Afterwards, it's good for digestion. It's good for getting that postprandial narcolepsy. Although if you eat the way we tell you, you'll never get postprandial narcolepsy, which is that sleepiness. That sleepiness is from bad food, high sugar levels, high fat levels, but it affects those as well. So see which works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, there's no data one is better than the other.
Absolutely.
It's a complicated question anyway, given the types of foods and dinner, lunches, and all of that.
I agree. Should we take a couple more questions?
Yes.
All right. So
although
we're at 44 minutes.
Let's do it.
All right. So Tracy has a very good question because I can relate to that. If you have a very demanding job and work is continuously coming in, how do I exercise without violent deadlines?
Yes. You want to answer this?
Well, I don't have, the good answer is prioritize your life. I think making sure that you put things in an order where you prioritize certain things over others is incredibly important. At least that's what helped me significantly. Growing up, I personally, and a lot of women, they don't prioritize their health because at that very moment they're strong, that they don't feel any weakness and they don't see the necessity for exercising. This concept of prevention and care for oneself doesn't really kick in unless we experience something bad or painful. But the body doesn't work that way. You know, we already know that there are these processes that are going on in our body that puts us at risk for disease. And you don't necessarily start the disease at the point of experiencing the first symptom. The process actually continues to go on. So exercise is very, very important. But I do understand that sometimes life, takes over and it's very difficult to find time. In those kind of situations, even 5 minutes of exercise is very, very helpful. And I'm pretty sure that you will definitely have it. The idea is to make it easily available so you don't have to spend extra time to get that action. So exercising at home, exercising in your pajamas the minute you wake up in the morning, exercise in the bathroom when you're brushing your teeth.
In the clinic where you have the dumbbells and the little chairs. So yeah.
There are times when I see 20 patients, a day.
20 patients in less than 8 hours, actually 7 hours. Imagine that.
And that's one of the most stressful things in my life, because how do you pay attention to 20 people? How do you listen to their stories? How do you come up with a plan? How do you stay compassionate with 20 individuals in front of you and at the same time take care of yourself? So I have a pair of dumbbells under my table, and during lunchtime I do a couple of reps of that. Dean does a couple of sit-ups and push-ups against the wall, on the floor. So anything that actually rejuvenates our bodies and takes care of the most important organ in our body, which is our brain, which is us, is a priority for me.
And then the other element is the job, what you just described. That's the stress management part, which we will talk about tomorrow.
Yes.
That's a very, very, very important aspect that we really need to talk about. What we do here is not just about, exercise and food. It's about life management. Because if there's not a mechanism of life management, all exercise programs eventually fail. All nutritional programs eventually fail. All stress management programs eventually fail. So that part of what we'll talk about tomorrow is just that.
Wonderful. If you guys have anything to ask, I'm so sorry we're running out of time. Please post it in the homepage. We would be more than happy to answer them there for you. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining, all of you, for taking the time of being here with us about, discuss something that's so incredibly important. And I hope that you all take some time to make a decision of one specific type of exercise that you haven't done that you will introduce today and this week, and continuously doing it on a regular basis. That would be wonderful. Please, we would love to know your intention and what that decision is. Please post it in the homepage. And we would love for everybody else to see that and get motivated too.
And then we heard about a lot of impediments.
Right.
Would love to hear your method of working around impediments,
right.
Because then other people can get ideas.
Please,
so
yes.
That's another factor that is critical. That's the community component.
That is so true. Please post your success stories of how you overcame an impediment.
Yes.
So that we can all learn from you. Love you all very much. Thank you so much for joining again, and we will see you tomorrow.
Correct.
Look out for a post on the podcast, the live podcast on ketogenic diet tomorrow. We're deciding on what time is best for everyone to be involved in that conversation.
Should we ask them, or
we could probably take a poll and put it up there? But again, if anybody misses that, then we're going to post the replays on the homepage, so you should definitely be able to see it. And under the schedule, maybe you can type in some questions related to ketogenic diet that we should address in the podcast. We will make sure that we take a look at them and include them. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful day. Go ahead and exercise and think about all the wonderful activities that you're going to take part in this week. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you.